Twitch. Sweet. Okay. Yay! We are live. Oh,
Right.
let me check on Twitch. Yes. Twitch says we are live, so I believe Twitch. Wait, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Also, for the didn't we talk? We did talk about the mass shooting last week, right? Or is that
Was
something
that?
else?
I think that was the previous one with the church.
Okay. What do we? Because you mentioned something last week. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I was just because it wasn't in the show notes, so I wasn't sure. It's like, oh, certainly I should have gone back and listened
No,
to
it's
it.
all good. Let me have a look. That is a good question. Yeah. Well, let me. Just thinking. 56. Did this? I don't know if it happened by the time. Maybe people at home might be able to tell us. It's Let's see. Okay, Spotify's not loading now. Come on. There we go. All right.
Explain it. It's just had to be going through what they were going through at the time.
That's why you've got John here to give you a line.
For the shooting, I think it was in Texas, wasn't it? The primary school in Texas.
Okay, we did mention it last week.
The previous
Okay.
shooting was only a couple of weeks ago.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
We haven't even.
That's.
If you wanted to go more into it, that'd be fine. I'm not sure if I was misremembering.
No. I think. Yeah. Yeah. It's sad that we have to even double check to make sure that we're talking about the right shooting.
Yeah.
Anyway. Alrighty. Let's start the show. Where's the music? Oh my god, music. Come on. We're professionals here, folks. Professionals.
Yeah.
You are now listening to Doublejump Radio.
G'day everyone and welcome to episode 57 of Doublejump Radio, the official podcast of Doublejump.co. I'm your host Abir and I'm joined once again by my co-host John. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. Okay, tired, sort of, like normal. What about you?
Yeah, same. I think. I think we both had pretty long days of work, so it's good to be able to kind of. I guess this is relaxing in a way. I love talking about games and pop culture with you.
Yeah, it's a good decompression sort of period.
for the week that was.
Yeah.
How about we go straight into what was on the site this past week? And the first article that went up was Jake's. How should I put it? Jake's spotlight. His kind of feature on EA. I guess losing, or EA and FIFA breaking up, and EA changing its football game name to EA Sports FC. I guess essentially saying that he kind of broke down some of the words and things that were said in EA's press release and providing some of the context as to why this came about. So it's definitely an interesting read. It's
He kind of focuses on the press release that EA released, as well as FIFA's. It's very what's the phrase? like ex sort of like ex breakup.
It's
thing
like a
or-
really bad breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of highlights something we talked about the other week when it happened,
Mm.
or last week or the week before. How what was it? How how like FIFA says that they're gonna come back with like the best football sim in the world. 'Cause that's what they want to, and it's just like you don't need to think very far to realize that's not true.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be true, especially right away. Like it's not. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, Jake kind of goes over like the basic gist of every aspect of it, where the licensing happened, where licensing ends up,
Mm.
and how much of a hard spot FIFA has put themselves in.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it both times that it's come up, is that FIFA needs EA more than EA needs FIFA at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think like 1991, 1992, or whenever the first FIFA, like EA made FIFA game came out, it might have been a very different time, I guess at that time EA would have been known for like, I don't even think the original Need for Speed was out. It was probably like all those other classic EA games that I can't even think of right now, because I'm not even from that generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I was born, at least. But
Yeah, and then we had Lucas. Lucas's, I guess, latest installment in his ongoing faction-focused series about the Infinity tabletop game. This time it was focusing on the Free Company of the Star. John, this is I just immediately thought of the Fist of the North Star, but maybe that's just me.
yeah, so this is Lucas's third faction focus for the tabletop game Infinity. I'm pretty certain there's 6, so there's 3 more to come. This one is about, so Free Company of Star, kind of abbreviated-ish to Starco. That's like the shorthand for it. That Lucas describes as, quote, can be customized to do just about anything. So they're kind of a jack-of-all-trades faction within the game.
Yeah.
And the closest thing to, like, good guys in this particular area of, like, zone of factions. There's a lot of groups, which Lucas also covered in like another separate, factions of Infinity.
Kind of like an
that.
overall overview comparison.
Yes. So go read that if you're into Infinity, want to learn more about it, all that jazz. Another good one from Lucas.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, head over to doublejump.co if you want to read all of that awesome work. It's always awesome to I guess I love reading about things that I don't know much about. Like I don't know much. Like Jake is definitely the FIFA expert, the football soccer expert on the team, and Luke is definitely like when it comes to tabletop games, I can't think of anyone in the history of Doublejump who's as passionate about him. So it'd be really cool to learn from them. But yeah, let's
it's like it's very detail heavy, so it's like kind of nice to get those.
Dude, yeah,
occasionally,
100%. Well, that's going to do it for what was on the site last week. How about we take it over to the news?
Yes.
So the first story this week is the fact that, I guess, the one that matters the most to folks at home is the news that Sony has revealed that it doesn't plan on producing its own PS4 games past 2024. So 2025 is the last year it expects there to be PS4 titles in its first-party portfolio. For folks at home, I was doing like speech marks with my fingers. So sorry for anyone who's listening in the audio version. But yes, essentially, I guess it's something that we'd expect, given that it'll be by 2025 it'll be like the 4th year, or I think it would be the 4th, because when did the PS5 and Xbox Series come out? Last year, right? Last holiday. I don't think it was 2020.
I don't remember anymore. All blurred together.
No, it was 2020. Yes, it was 2020. So that would definitely be well into the fourth year of both, the current generation of consoles, and
Yeah.
yeah, like,
I think a lot of it, like, I think saying, we're going to stop making PS4 games by 2025, like, it sounds expected, It's
yeah,
not like it's not very surprising in
yeah,
a sense. Though it kind of sets, sorry, but like, it kind of sets this, like, idea of how far ahead Sony's thinking this shortage can go, and also how successful the PS4's been, that
yeah,
they need to really factor in, supporting this console that's sold like one of the best in history.
yeah,
It's like we need to keep making games for this huge audience.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, um, I don't know how to put it. It's like people need to remember that the PS4 came out in 2013. So by the time this comes out, it'll be like 12 years of the console's life, which is actually a very long time when it comes to console generations. I think we got I think we got used to. I think we didn't. I guess like if you think about it, the the PS3 came out in '06, and then the PS4 came out in 2013. Then the PS5 came out in 2020. So it's like kind of that 7 years is what we've kind of gotten used to. Whereas like back in the day, consoles used to be replaced every like few years.
Yeah, it's like the PlayStation 2 before that was 5 years, I think, right? Or like,
Yeah, 5 years,
actually, no, it might be
1995 to 2000. Because, yeah, because 1994 in Japan technically was the PS1, but
Okay.
1995 was like kind of the Western release. And 2000 was like the global release for the PS5. Sorry, PS2.
Okay, then PS2 was like similar in like length. And
Yeah,
now they're just kind of nudging a
2006.
little
Yeah,
bit longer after the 360 PS3 generation
yeah,
extended
like
a bit further.
the original Xbox lasted 5 years before it was 4 years because the original Xbox came out in November 2020. Sorry, November 2001, and the Xbox 360 came out in November 2005. So that was like very short, you know.
Okay.
Not quite Dreamcast short. I think that was only like 3 years, but that was a little bit different. I think that was like more the company going under, like just really couldn't
Yeah,
handle it
that one.
anymore.
Yeah, that one died pretty quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember researching that for one of those old articles I did for launch games.
Mm.
I don't remember if that one even came out, but I remember learning much more about Dreamcast than I've ever learned because I never knew anything about it,
Yeah.
and I was surprised at how quickly that one died off. Yeah,
Well,
but
Yeah, because like what I remember of the time was like a lot of ads on TV about Sonic Adventure in the year it came out in '99, and then like kind of nothing. I don't really remember much promotion afterwards. Maybe like a Crazy Taxi ad, but that was probably it.
yeah, it feels like one of those consoles that like here in Australia barely came out. Like it
Yeah.
feels like that era where there's just so little awareness and availability in like Australasia or Oceania that it's like I'm surprised it even came out here.
Yeah, like I mean, we were a PlayStation territory. I think pretty. I feel like Nintendo was pretty dominant in the '90s until the PlayStation came out, and then it became like a. I think similar to Europe, like PlayStation just exploded here.
Yeah,
And,
makes sense.
and I think it never looked back. Like I think once the PS2 came out, like no one talked about the Dreamcast. That I was like not even in school and stuff. And like I would have been like 9 or 10 when the PS2 came out. I was like 9, so I was like yeah. Wait, when did it come? 2000? No, I would have been 8 years old. So I was like in grade 3 or something when that came out, and like I remember there was like one person who had a PS2 because it was ridiculously expensive. It was like $700-800 Australian, but
Yeah.
in 2000 money. You know what I mean? That's like it's like that would be like spending $1,400 on a console now.
Yeah,
You know.
which is unfortunately not out of the norm. right
Yeah,
now.
well, yeah. I
But,
mean, given what's been happening with the shortages, that's the scary part.
yeah, because you go on Amazon and they're because I like look up the bestsellers list on video games on Amazon occasionally because they'll have like low deals sometimes and they'll be there.
Yeah,
I don't make any other effort, but like sometimes a PS5 will be there and it's like $1,200, and they're sold out.
Yeah.
Like, so there were a few there for an
Yeah.
extremely high price. Now they're gone.
I'll wait.
Yes.
That's the thing. I'm happy to wait. But yeah, so the important thing to remember is that it's not that PS4 games will not still be made. Like, obviously, third-party companies will still make them. Like, Just Dance 2022 came out on the Wii, like a few months ago. So, it's not out of the ordinary, especially given a system that's sold so much that people will still be making games for them. But don't expect like simultaneous versions of like the new God of War and the new Last of Us or whatever going forward.
Yeah.
It'll be. I mean, hopefully, Sony's predictions that the chip shortage kind of like waning out by 2024 means that there'll be enough PS5s out there that it'll be like the main console, as it generally would be when it's not during the pandemic, and that it would be. And Sony does expect to make the majority of its like kind of gaming revenue from PS5, which I think we'd both agree is expected. But one thing that is kind of interesting to note here is that Sony also foresees a big, like, if we're looking at the first party portfolio, and I've got it up on screen here, we've got kind of the graph, like, you're looking at 20% of its 2025 games to be mobile games, and then like another 30% to be PC releases. I think that's something that I think is pretty crazy. Like, I don't know, maybe Sony's felt encouraged by like the positive reception to like maybe the God of War PC port.
Yeah, it's like, well, they have been like gearing up for it a lot because they've bought, I've completely
Bungie.
forget the name. But,
No?
oh, them too. But like they have one of the studios they bought in the last year or so is like specifically like Virtuos, I think.
I think
Is, like,
I think it does
specifically, like, a
ports and
PC
stuff, right?
porterhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a few others.
Sounds
I think
familiar.
there's another one as well. It's like they've been gearing up for like really venturing into PC hard, which I guess is like as much about scaling their games for the future as well, and kind of like ensuring long-term sales success as well. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on that I'm very unaware of, but
Yeah.
and it's like you mentioned mobile thing, and it reminds me. I was like, oh, that's right. They own Grand Blue Online, I think.
Yeah,
Is
like the
them,
Grand
like,
Blue
probably-
franchise, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I'm sure that makes a significant.
I'm
chunk
surprised.
Of that 20%.
Yeah, I wonder if like I'm surprised Final Fantasy 14 hasn't come to mobile.
Oh yeah, would
'Cause-
that be hard to get? Oh, because 11 is. I don't know how complex they are by comparison.
I mean, Genshin Impact is. So it's like
Yeah.
when I think of a game of that scale, I think of like Genshin Impact, and that does really well with its cross play. But
Yeah, but it's like like Final Fantasy 14. It's like the
More
closest thing
complicated,
to
probably.
it kind of is like WoW, but WoW seems to be getting a mobile port sometime soonish. So
Yeah.
curious to see how that goes.
I mean, who
Maybe they'll be
knows?
able to
Who
get it out
knows? By 2025, maybe the Final Fantasy 14 servers, there'll be enough servers to meet demand, and phones will get to a point where they're like, where they'll like really outpace like consoles, like in terms of graphics. Like they'll catch up. But what speaks? I wonder how. I wonder what this looks like from a Nintendo point of view, because like Nintendo's made a lot of like a big push into mobile over the past few years. I think it's slowed down a bit, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. By 2025, I'd hope there'd be a Switch Pro or a next gen console from Nintendo.
Yeah, it'd be pretty shocking if there wasn't. But I guess chip shortage could lead to a lot of changes.
Yeah, I mean,
But
like, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, because like the Steam Deck is like, it's like the first Valve product in a long time, besides the Index, that is, I think even more than the Index, that has actually caught on, because I think the Valve Index is very niche, because it's like a VR headset that requires setup and everything. Whereas the Steam Deck, I feel like there hasn't really been any negative buzz around it. People like genuinely like it.
yeah, I'm kind of curious because, like, personally on the sites I'd like go on, which aren't many, honestly, but like I definitely didn't hear much about the deck after it came out. partly because there's so few of them available.
Yeah.
But it's like Valve never planned to, didn't expect to make too many either.
Yeah.
Especially as they kind of continue to upgrade it over time with new releases,
Yeah.
like new versions of it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I kind of forgot the point about with the Switch and stuff.
Oh no, I was just
but-
like, I'm just excited. I just want to see where. I wonder if Nintendo will continue with that 2-in-1 concept, or it'll go back to the traditional handheld plus, home console thing, or maybe Nintendo's like, well, no, but I feel like Nintendo loves making money off hardware, so it wouldn't just make mobile games. It would probably still continue to make hardware.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
like too big a part of their
Mm.
identity. I
Yeah.
think. But I don't know. Anything can happen, really.
I think the question is really going to be whether Nintendo sticks with Nvidia hardware or AMD, because AMD's is the AMD is what's powering all the current large consoles, big boy consoles. I don't know how to put it. Like basically not the Switch. Even the Steam
Yeah.
Deck runs AMD hardware. So I wonder if
Yeah, that was another
yeah.
thing. There was like rumors with the Switch Pro were kind of around the Nvidia's DLSS
Yeah.
technology. Like that's like very completely exclusive to them because it's like hardware specific.
Yeah.
And then, but in the last like couple of weeks with like, what was it? There was a couple of games that released with FSR 2.0, which is AMD's like software version of it, which is
yeah.
fairly excellent.
Yeah.
So it's like, that kind of that like whatever competitiveness there was there in terms of like appealing to console makers, that feels like it's evened out again.
Yeah. So DLSS and FSR. DLSS stands for Deep Learning Super Scaling. FSR I think is like something scaling resolution. It's like essentially instead of basically what you do is you run a game at a certain resolution, and instead of I guess running the game at a higher resolution to like say for example like on the PS5. So let's say you've got a 4K monitor and you're playing a PC game. To run a game at 4K natively, so with everything set to 4K, it requires a hell of a lot of power. But with FSR and with DLSS, what you can do is basically run the game say at 1080p, and then it'll use like kind of AI algorithms in the background to upscale or stretch the image out and make it have a 4K resolution, but without doing all that hard work of all that heavy lifting of generating that many more pixels. It's more like a kind of like a way of, I guess, cleaning up the image and scaling it up. It's getting better, because I remember the original DLSS with like Metro Exodus when it came out like 2019 or whatever, 2020. It was like really blurry and really bad. But then this like DLSS 2.0 and the new FSR from AMD looks like they're really like it's like getting like almost indistinguishable.
Yeah,
From
it's
like,
like a
yeah.
technology that's becoming so impressive that it's going to be interesting to see how it impacts the greater industry.
Yeah.
Like especially with console makers and stuff, just because like really being able to squeeze out any possible power out of increasingly outdated hardware
Yeah.
is like so valuable.
Yeah.
So it's curious.
And it gets around the problem of like games like Halo Infinite that have dynamic scaling. And what it does is basically you say, hey, I want to get to this frame rate, say 60 frames per second. And what the game does is in the background dynamically changes the resolution of everything. So yes, you'll get the frame rate, but then everything looks like a blurry mess because it's actually rendering at a lower level and not really being smoothed out of like kind of no processing's really done to clean it up. So that's like the other way that people have been doing it. But yeah, like it's probably fine when you're like scaling maybe down to 80%, but when it comes down to like you're scaling down to 50% or something, it's just like it just looks like a blurry mess sometimes. So
yeah. It's like you mentioned like Infinite, and it's like, oh, that's right. Like that's something I almost never think of now because it's so standard. Is like checkerboarding techniques.
Yep.
And how that felt like such a big deal, and it was a big deal at like the start of the PS4, Xbox One.
Yeah, it was like the big
That was when they
innovation.
started
then,
using
yeah.
it. And now it's like, okay, we're like at a new phase, and I don't think I really connected the dots to like like ever between those two things.
Yeah.
But,
Nah, that's yeah. Those were like kind of those techniques I think like Killzone Shadowfall, whatever the PS4 launch one, and then like the Forza games and the Halo games I've been doing for a while. So it's cool. But yeah, that's going to do it for the PS4 and PS5. But that's for 2025. We've got some upcoming news from the world of PlayStation and the folks at Summer Games Fest. Do you want to take us through that, John?
Yeah, speaking of a variety of game companies, it's like at this point it's the Summer Games Fest from Jeff Keighley. I don't know who else. Jeff Keighley's definitely the face of it. For this year, has announced that PlayStation plus 30 other also companies haven't been announced to participate in Game Fest, and the Game Fest will be taking place from June 9 to June 12, which you probably budge 12 hours or so in Australia.
Yep.
But yeah, so I won't list them all. PlayStation's one of many very high profile companies. So it's like Xbox is there as well, Steam, Warner Brothers Games, Samsung's there for some reason, and Devolver's there.
Yeah.
2K, Activision. More on Activision later.
Yeah.
So it's and there's more to be confirmed at a later date. Like last few years, Summer Game Fest is meant to be more of a long-term thing, but it does seem to be like the idea of the core of it being from June 9 to 12 seems to be that they are making an active effort to replace E3 and try to replicate it, not just be like, the game thing happening in June, but actually having like a core time period that is about like high profile announcements. Yeah. Which I'm kind of curious if like PlayStation is part of it, then I'm guessing they're doing something. But it does remind me that like all these companies have their own things going on. I'm actually surprised they're part of it again.
Well, that's the thing. Like Sony, you mentioned that the Sony's kicking things off, and that's so Sony's State of Play is going to take place this coming Friday. So it's June 2nd in America, but for us it's 8 a.m. on the east coast of Australia. So 10 a.m. in New Zealand, 8 a.m. on the east coast of Australia, and 6 a.m. for you, John. So sorry. Is when
watch out till later.
Is when the State of Play presentation is going to kick off then. So, I mean, apparently it'll include 30 minutes of new announcements and updates. So maybe we'll get to see more of God of War Ragnarok, or maybe that Wolverine game.
Oh yeah, the Wolverine one's meant to be like really early, but I think for that one, I guess this is our State of Play update thing. I'm pretty sure God of War is like, it's not confirmed, but it does seem to be pretty heavily, because there was like a bunch of merch that went up recently on storefronts that have like a September release date.
Oh, okay.
So it does seem to be hinting at like a release date being confirmed sometime very soon.
Yeah,
have a State of Play happening. So, and then what was the other one? Last of Us Remake is constantly having buzz for a game that hasn't been announced at all. So otherwise I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I 100% predict God of War gets announced for this year and then gets delayed to like May next year or March next year, because I think it came out on I think God of War came out on April 20th. Because I remember 420 jokes around the time that it came out. I don't know why. I feel like it... Yeah. 2018 or something.
I forgot the name of it already. What's that Bethesda game called? Star something?
Starfield.
Yeah,
Starfield. Not Star Citizen.
Get incredibly confident release date announcement like a year later.
And then,
then it's like, oh no, we have to delay it because it could have been Cyberpunk again.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's part of Game Fest. Greg Miller, the journalist with Kinda Funny, I think.
Kinda Funny Games, yep. Formerly of IGN, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
He also revealed that there's something called Play Days going on. This will be a, quote, media-only game preview event that a number of influencers and game journals and the like, they'll be heading to LA sometime next week. Seemingly, this will be a few days before the June 9th to 12th section of Game Fest. So this seems even closer to replicating E3, at least from how I interpreted it. It's like, okay, they even have the media, like press only part of E3 as well, which is, another part of E3 that was very core
Yeah.
to the experience is having all the journos there first, having all the backstage demos, and then having that kind of the more publicized
Yeah, I
conference
just
stuff afterwards.
like I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna miss having E3. Like it, there's like we always talk about it. Like we've talked about it before, how it's like kind of like like something we look forward to every year. So I'm hoping that this can fill some of that gap, because it kind of did last year.
Yeah, I will say it's like I read like a comment after Greg. Like I was reading something like comments following like Greg Miller's, pseudo announcement of this Playdays thing. And saw someone that's like, man, I like really miss E3, and like I really hope it's good this year. And it's like at my age now, it feels strange to be actively excited for commercials. Like, like I don't know. I've become more and more cynical towards it.
I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it was. That's what those trailers. That's what E3 kind of turned out to be for the longest time.
Yeah, maybe it's just been disappointing for a few years because COVID, etc. Like maybe that's part of it. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But yeah. Anyway, Summer
We'll
Game
find
Fest
out.
happening soon. We'll probably. I'm not sure if. It'll be happening from. So we'll cover it in 2 weeks, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Sweet. And I mean, you alluded to it before, but Activision, Microsoft, the whole kind of shit show happening over in that side of the world is continuing, and sorry, long day, folks. All right, Microsoft's kind of dodged a lot of the criticism and a lot of the exposés and the reports for a long time. That's kind of ended because just this past week, the Insider, or formerly Business Insider. It's just called Insider now, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the Insider Group has published a report highlighting, I guess, like a history of toxic work culture at Microsoft, and quite a few anonymous sources have come forward to, I guess, not lay the blame, but I guess accuse 3 particular male executives of misconduct. First one was Alex Kipman, who people may know as the inventor of the HoloLens, which is Microsoft's virtual reality / augmented reality, mixed reality headset. And I believe he's, as far as we can tell, he's currently leading Microsoft's, I guess, experiments in the metaverse, which sounds silly. Just doesn't make sense. Like I'm picturing him like getting like sucked into like a computer and just like, that's just how they explain it. Like, oh yeah, he's gone. He's gone. He's just doing something.
If it sounds like VR but with a lot of ads.
Yeah,
that's what I get from Metaverse.
Yeah, I could say that. I would agree. And then the second one was against Terry Myerson, former executive VP and head of Windows and the devices group, so like Surface and Windows. And then Tom Keane, who's a corporate VP of the Azure cloud platform. So the first accusations laid at Alex Kipman. One particular incident that was highlighted goes back to 2016 and 2017, where apparently he hosted a presentation internally where he was wearing a headset, and at the same time, what he was seeing in the headset was being played on the screens in the room. Makes sense. You want people to see exactly how it's all working and stuff, right? The trouble is, what he was apparently watching was basically what I could describe as softcore, and I guess one person called it VR porn, quote unquote. Essentially scantily clad young women pillow fighting and mucking around on a bed. Apparently, it made some of the attendees, especially women, feel uncomfortable, and that some people actually walked out of the presentation because they just didn't feel comfortable at all. And on top of that, he had also been accused of, I guess, fostering or continuing or like I guess supporting or not doing anything to stop a quote, a culture that diminishes women's contributions, end quote. which
Yeah, there's also a mention in the article of him needing a chaperone
yes,
nowadays. Yeah, that's. I was kind of laughing at that when I was reading it,
I
and
was
because I was laughing after the part where it mentions it, where it has a quote, like like a comment, like a response to that specific part, saying, "I don't need a chaperone." I just started laughing because like it's horrible, but it's like absurd that it's like he felt like, oh, it's awful.
yeah, like one instance, he rubbed a female employee's shoulders despite her looking apparently, quote, deeply uncomfortable. And he didn't even stop when she was trying to, like, make him stop by, quote, shrugging her shoulders. Yeah, and that chaperone thing, like, apparently Microsoft denied that this happened, that he needed chaperones to follow him wherever he went to make sure he didn't do anything inappropriate. But apparently, well, reportedly last year, more than 25 employees at Microsoft actually signed or contributed to a report about his behavior. But as of right now, no further actions have been taken since then, which, if true, is troubling. Like, I don't know how many signatures you need. Like, I get it. Microsoft's got thousands of employees, but, if 25 people who are, like, near him say this guy's not behaving correctly, like, you think someone would take notice and do something.
Yeah, that's like maybe I'll. Oh, anyway, that is a big focus of the article. Is like not just like these few people. It's like how far back this history goes.
Yeah.
And how the current CEO Satya
Nadella.
is like actively avoids making any sort of hard decisions or dealing with conflict in any way. It's like,
yeah,
it's almost like comical how he tries to get away from doing anything to deal with any of this stuff at all. It's all like, like that's why it keeps going with these people. It's just that he just doesn't want to mess with them at all. Partly to keep Microsoft going at a steady pace, and partly because he just doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, okay, you may not be comfortable with confrontation or something like this, but then that's why you hire people who are.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like he ends up, but he's dealing with people who he does make other people do it. Like that's what the Insider article mentions. He has he wants, if he can get someone else to do it, he will. In terms of
chastising them,
some sort of HR issue.
But nothing
but
permanent.
When it comes to these major top people, they almost always rise up higher, even after all their behavior.
I mean, these people are like VPs, executive VPs and stuff. Like, they're pretty much directly underneath Satya. Like, you can't really put HR between you and them. I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you should be able to, but I mean, I guess that's how they see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we're literally sitting in the same boardroom. Why are you being like this? But
yeah, and Nadella's made a cultural, transforming the culture of Microsoft. As soon as he became CEO in 2014, that's what his focus was meant to have been.
Yeah,
and he's literally doing as little as possible to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
sorry.
Yeah. No, dude, go for it. That extra context is definitely helpful because, I mean, I think it's I saw that people said, okay, he's made some changes. It's improved a little bit, but nowhere near the underlying problems haven't been, and the troublemakers haven't been addressed. That's the thing. There are a lot of token gestures and things like that. And well, the second person that we talked about, Terry Myerson, he, I guess, publicly departed Microsoft in 2018, and there was not much transparency around why. There was not much reasoning provided. People had rumored that it's because the Surface Phone initiative failed or Windows Phone failed, and apparently at one public event he had a quote meltdown backstage, and he I guess criticized and blamed quote everyone pretty publicly, and this apparently caught the CEO Satya Nadella's attention, but three different sources said that this was a big part for why he suddenly left Microsoft. I mean, again, it seems like it got Satya Nadella's attention, but there are no sources saying that anything happened. You know what I mean, from Satya directly, but who knows? Maybe something happened behind the scenes and he was let go. But it's like what happened with I forget who the designer was, but Andy Rubin from Google. Like he kind of he left. He had some accusations against him, but he also benefited from a pretty nice kind of payout. You know what I mean?
Like golden parachute.
Yeah. So it's yes, they lost their job, but I feel like when you're at that C level or whatever, you can just find something else. You can just be a consultant for the rest of your life and just retire and still make, a lot of money and still be involved in key decisions and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like one of those things where it's like when there's fraud, when money's involved, you're barred from running a company or being on a board for 10 years or something. But when there's, misconduct, there's really nothing like that. It's just the court of public opinion, and most of the time those things don't surface.
Right. I never knew that actually.
Yeah, in a lot of prominent fraud cases, when a CEO or someone gets caught out, they're actually barred from. They're actually legally not allowed to be a director or on a board or chairman or anything like that. Like they can't take any prominent management positions. It's like a part of their kind of sentence in a way. But you can, as long as you don't cost anyone money, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Apparently, that's kind of the messaging we get. That kind of says anyway. And then I guess finally was Tom Keane, the guy who runs Azure. He had also been accused of similar actions, criticizing staff and things like that, even allegedly making a staff member cry in a public meeting, and that apparently he ran things very like a totalitarian dictatorship, essentially being called King Tom that's a quote from some people behind his back because of the way he wanted everything to be his way or no way, and demanding obedience and I don't know subservience. I don't know how to put it, but he took a month long just hiatus from Microsoft, and no kind of real reason was given, and he's been reassigned to another part of Microsoft at the moment, but he's still got a large team underneath him, but he's not kind of publicly shown as a figure in any specific department or anything like he used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's they don't. It's just a long history of Microsoft and a recent history of Microsoft just never wanting to make any sort of waves from within, even when they say they're going to. They just kind of keep everything going as smoothly as possible.
Yeah.
As a corporation making a lot of money and no other objectives.
Yeah. I mean, if only Satya Nadella or Phil Spencer were as brave as Jim Ryan, sending his email to staff. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, and I guess another piece to this, we can kind of talk about is the Activision Blizzard side of things. So one of the things highlighted by the insider report is that employees at Microsoft are kind of fearful. They're not expecting. They kind of don't expect any of that work culture to change at Activision Blizzard, and from the sounds of it, it seems like behavior like that wasn't very well addressed at Microsoft. So you kind of, is it one of those things where you take one toxic work culture, add it to another one, does it make it even worse?
Yeah, it doesn't. I'd imagine it does make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I guess as part of this, according to, this is from, we got this from gamesindustry.biz. On June 21, Activision Blizzard is going to host its annual kind of investor meeting. And the SOC investment group, which is a very prominent shareholder, I guess, investment consortium,
right.
group, has told, or I guess asked, requested of Activision Blizzard shareholders to vote against re-electing the current board of directors, which Like, what I love is okay. I'll say exactly who they're talking about. So they're talking about don't let Bobby Kotick, the CEO, the current CEO of Activision Blizzard, Brian Kelly, Robert Morgado, Robert Corti, Barry Meyer, Peter Nolan, all middle-aged, probably middle-aged white men,
Yeah.
from retaining their positions. And according to the letter, the SOC actually said that each of these people, quote, failed either to recognize that Activision Blizzard for years maintained unsafe workplaces exhibiting frequent and repeated sexual harassment, sexual assault, and gender discrimination, or to appropriately address the company's frat house culture once it was publicly revealed. Let's see. And we need to hold these current directors accountable for their multiple failures to act and the resulting reputational harm and declining share price. Number one, I like that the SOC said these are the reasons why, and all of them are related to the work culture before talking about the share price. Like, maybe it's just a token thing that like someone in the PR team went over, but let me give them the benefit of the doubt and say that, hey, maybe someone there was actually saying, you know what, have a think about it. We don't want this culture to continue. And yes, it'll eventually lead to, bad things for the share price. What do you think?
Well, I guess that's kind of like it's not like entirely wrong to frame it within that,
Yeah.
especially since they're an investment group.
Yeah.
Like what else? Like technically, what else would they care about? As much they should care about more, but I mean, it makes sense they wouldn't. But it's like the fact that this investment group is saying this horrible culture is gonna make us less money, and it's really important we take care of it because these directors are directly responsible for it. And like that's the entire gist of it, really. It's like this frat house culture is hurting our bottom line and everyone's bottom line because they're all investors.
Yeah.
And that's like, and really that's like the only argument they really need in something like this, because it's all the kind of people who wouldn't be convinced by purely ethical grounds anyway, regardless of what the goal is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not considering how these votes have gone. I wouldn't expect it to go. I would expect them to keep their positions because I think they're like SOC's been pushing back against like several layers of this acquisition, and nothing's really been stopped. I think it's been delayed, but nothing's been stopped. So
yeah,
I guess we'll find out later this month.
Yeah, I mean,
where that goes.
Yeah, I was going to say as part of Summer Games Fest, but I guess not. It just happens to be happening at the same time.
Well, I guess it'll be like a week or so afterwards, so have
Yay.
space to be upsetting.
Everyone's favorite like Activision Blizzard announcement is going to be
yeah. Could celebrate Activision a week before.
Yeah,
a week later.
Well, I guess like speaking of one toxic shit show to another, this time we're going back to the land of Riot Games.
Yes. This will be relatively quick, I think.
Yeah, please.
This is more of like I put this here more because it's like, oh, that's right, Riot Games fucking sucks, and people should really remember. So this is in response to a Twitter post from Riot Games. They're the ones who make LOL, for people who don't remember. They
League of Legends.
Yes.
Yeah.
They make laughs.
Yeah.
But they made a Twitter post celebrating Pride Month. In the Twitter post, they had a quote that says, quote, "This is time to come together, celebrate LGBTQIA plus communities, recognize the progress we've made, and continue working towards creating inclusive spaces for all people," end quote. After that post, the former Riot employee who goes by Yona on Twitter, they go by them, they pronouns, and they're at Remembrance.
Remembrancer MX.
Yeah. Anyway, she basically broke her signed NDA to try and highlight and confront Riot's hypocrisy with this tweet. She said it in a series of her own tweets. So I'm not sure if I'll go over all of it. It's worth going back to just kind of check it out. So, quote, "I was fired from Riot Games for vaguely tweeting I was tired of fake trans allies after an ally in the inclusion channel said it's okay to consider my pronouns optional. by the way, Riot knew they were in the wrong here because I had only worked there full time for 9 months, and the HR guideline is that you get 1 month of severance for every year you've been there, which meant I wasn't eligible at all. But they gave me 6 months if I signed an NDA. Technically, I'm breaking the NDA, but if Riot Games wants to sue my trans disabled teen ass, I am super happy to go to court and let Discovery show that what the company's really like. I won't be the one losing there. Yeah, and just here's why I post this, because Riot has never acknowledged its past. They wouldn't even accept blame when they're sued by the state. I don't know a single former Rioter not in therapy, and over half have PTSD. We sacrificed a lot to get Riot to its current inclusivity, yet we're erased. Yeah. I know, I'll do one more. Riot did not spontaneously become more accepting. People got fired, at least one person died. I know people that lost not just their careers, but their entire support networks. And all these sacrifices are not remembered when they really should be. So, yeah. Not sure there's too much to add to it. I just thought it was worth highlighting. I think it's like good to remember that these corporations, whether they're in games or not, when they make posts about Pride Month or Black History Month or anything regarding like, wider progressive society, they're rarely on your side,
Yeah.
And it's worth remembering. I mean, it's a cynical take, really, but like Riot Games doesn't deserve much benefit of the doubt anyway. But it's like I don't know.
Yeah,
it's upsetting, but it's kind of honestly kind of good to be reminded, and I think it's amazing this person.
Yeah, like they
took this risk to make people aware.
Yeah, I'm guessing their name is L, based on what they wrote in their name on Twitter. But yeah, if that is their name or whoever they are, but like, I mean, this is all still alleged. Like, this is one side of the story. Obviously, it's like this just happened. I think as of this recording, like 15 hours ago. So it's still all developing right now. But like, I guess Riot's got a history of. Like, Riot was one of the first ones that got the exposés, right? Like, back in, 2017 or something, 2018, when Kotaku did its exposé. So, Riot's like an OG when it comes to toxic work culture. I mean, it sounds really dumb when I say it. Like, I'm not trying to glorify it. I just realize, how silly that comes across. But, it is kind of problematic when a company that has a history of toxic work culture then promotes... inclusivity and things like that, when those specifically have been called out before. I don't know, and I don't know about me, but when I see the image that they use, this promo image for their kind of Pride Month celebrations, like they've got a picture of a character that looks a lot like McCree from Overwatch, and McCree's name was changed recently because that character was named after a former Blizzard employee who was a sexist pig. So it's... Yeah, anyway, that's like a weird connection that only I would make because I'm...
No, I think it's like a good point to make. It's like amazing how this kind of network of harassment, like corporate harassment, is like it's becoming so ingrained and common that you can connect one thing, one nascent thing from one example of harassment and mistreatment, and it's connected back to us. Like, oh, that's like that reminds me of that other company that does it, and it's all awful.
Yeah, well, I know it's still developing. We'll see if more people will come out and kind of talk about their kind of their experiences. Like, it's a pretty big call out to say that I know multiple people who've been through a similar thing who have PTSD, and have had... I don't know anyone who's a former employee who's not in therapy. Like, those are pretty big calls to make, and I guess we'll find out very soon if more people come forward. But I don't know. I'm just trying to... I don't see any. I haven't seen any other news stories talking about. I guess the I should put it addressing it. So we'll maybe by next week we'll have something to add. But yeah, Next story is, I guess, a good change. I'll put it this way. Like
Yeah.
it's still like sad in a way, but it's still it's more like good to know that someone is moving on and kind of getting rest that they've deserved. And I guess this news is that Shinji Hashimoto, the co-creator of Kingdom Hearts and a long time, like I guess like a veteran producer of the Final Fantasy series at Square Enix, has announced that he's retiring from the famous Japanese developer. He's been there for more than 25 years, and this came out of a tweet that he released really late last night. So on the last day of May, and he posted it. He took to Twitter to I guess convey a very kind of like heartfelt, like kind of like very simple message. Basically, and this is like kind of loosely translated from Japanese. Thank you, everyone. I will retire on May 31st. During my tenure, I'm very grateful to all of you in various fields. From now on, I would like to support you as a Square Enix fan. I'm really thankful to you. Emphasis is probably from Google Translate or something. Like, no, I didn't mean to emphasize Square Enix. I think it probably would more emphasize fan. So, like, thank you, I guess. I mean, we've both talked about how we're very ill-equipped to talk about Kingdom Hearts, but I have enjoyed the Final Fantasy kind of series over the time, and always hearing about all the craziness happening there. So I guess thank you. I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm just happy that no one's passed away. Like, someone's actually, getting to just retire and enjoy being like kind of a veteran, not getting kicked out of a company or breaking up with a company, which is cool. But yeah, thank you so much, Hashimoto-san, for your contributions to the gaming world.
Yeah, like from what I understand, he's like a huge part of Square Enix, where Enix, because I've been pronouncing it Enix. I remember, I think I used to pronounce it Enix, and I've somehow got that changed at some point. Anyway, yeah, it's like a big part of that company's DNA, and now they've like sold off their Western studios.
Yeah,
and now he's gone. It's
yeah,
like, it does make me wonder how Enix is gonna like kind of transform over the next few years or so.
Yeah,
Without him, like I'm not sure how big an impact he had in these recent years, but curious.
And I guess like for people, like, give you a little bit of context about how why he's listed as a co-creator. So according to comicbook.com, Tetsuya Nomura, the director of Final Fantasy, I think it was the director of 7, 10, and like 15. I think 15, yeah. Like, he's kind of like most famously associated with Final Fantasy, but it was actually Hashimoto-san who came up with the idea of Kingdom Hearts before Nomura was involved. And then he was the one who actually pitched the idea to Disney.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's who knows? Like, imagine an alternate reality where that didn't happen. Like, I feel like Kingdom Hearts has just been like it's like become like a punchline in gaming for a long time, but it's also like a really, like, it's like one of those franchises that like are really synonymous with video games now. I feel like it's very hard to, especially PlayStation.
It does feel like weirdly separate from the rest of the industry to me. I mean, that's because I haven't played it. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But it does feel like, as someone who, follows game discussion in my own little bubble of sites that I follow, it's like, it does feel so distinct and separated from the rest of the discussion. Like, it doesn't really link into like, oh, this game's like this.
Yeah.
This mechanic's kind of lifted from this, and Kingdom Hearts, like, I'm sure it does that to some extent in some ways, but it's like, it doesn't really, I don't know. Maybe Square Enix kind of feel like that generally. I don't know, but it's
maybe.
Anyway.
Well, I always think of it as like in the similar vein to like the Muso games, like the Warriors, the Dynasty Warriors games. Like, it was just like, it was super popular, but just not in the mainstream. But I guess Kingdom Hearts kind of did float into the mainstream because I don't know. Anyway, it's
Well, it does make me think. It's like Kingdom Hearts is like such a big deal in its own fan base. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like everything is like that's kind of a big silly thing to say. But like it every time I think about Kingdom Hearts, there was like a recent like a thing a few months ago where there was like a hotel, like a Kingdom Hearts hotel room you can hire that had like actual secrets in it that pointed
course.
toward like I think that was like in the build up to Kingdom Hearts 4
For
being
announcement,
announced.
yeah.
Like this was a few months ago, and I don't think it had too much involved. But it reminds me, it's like, oh, that's right. Kingdom Hearts is like one of those series where like just everything has something to do with everything else, or you know, something else. I mean, and it's anyway. That's what I think
Yeah.
about with Kingdom Hearts nowadays. Is that hotel room?
Oh, that's such a random thing. Oh, love it. I love it. But yeah, I guess the next announcement, the next, I guess like positive news I could say like these like I would love to end the news section on a really positive note. We've got a trio of new game announcement and / teasers. The first, yeah, John, tell us.
Oh, sorry. I was like, yeah, a little bundle of new game things, but nothing huge individually. So first up, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Fallen Order from a few years ago. Still by Respawn. It was a new teaser shown at shown at Star Wars Celebration, I think a few days ago.
Yeah,
at
it
this
was
point.
it was over the weekend. I think it was like pretty recent.
Okay. Set to release next year in 2023. It will be current gen only, so no PS4 and Xbox only. No, Xbox One release this time. So PS5, Xbox Series, and PC only. Story-wise, like the only core detail we have from this like teaser announcement, like teaser happening, is that it's set 5 years after Fallen Order, so it's a bit of a time jump, which is very exciting to me as someone who adores time skips generally. So like I actually was expecting the exact opposite, considering where the first one left off. So it's like that makes me excited. The teaser doesn't reveal too much. It's very much a teaser in the proper sense.
Yeah.
So it has Cal still getting chased by the Inquisitors, like those kind of weird pseudo Sith.
Yeah, like kind of that hunt down Jedis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His ship crashes on some desert planet, which feels very familiar nowadays. Cal loses his lightsaber.
Either Tatooine or Jakku. Like it has to be one of those two, right? Yeah.
Has to be like 4 places in gigantic galaxy. Cal loses his lightsaber at some point, and Cal finds a mysterious character floating in a Bacta tank, and that's kind of it. As far as as someone who's not like a mega fan of Star Wars, that was kind of all I got from it. But it's like it's good, like it's a proper teaser where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get into the tone and what's going on and et cetera.
Yeah, it's so weird because it's I don't know, when I hear Bacta tank and desert planet, I'm worried.
Yeah, when I was doing our show notes, I initially wrote Bantha.
Bantha Bodo.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm terrible. I still haven't gotten back to Fallen Order. I really need to play it again. Like I played like the first hour or something, and then it just didn't hook me. I don't know. I went into some cave. Like I was on the first planet where you go meet someone, and then like I went. You could go left or right, and I went right, and there was like a monster in a cave, and it was just kicking my ass. And I don't know if I'm meant to be able to beat it yet. It's like
I remember which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like
definitely you're not meant to.
Okay, see, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know because the.
There's so few places like that in the game as well.
Okay.
Like there's like nowhere else where that can kind of thing.
So and there was like so I was just kind of doing it again and again, and then there was like this puzzle, or there was like this. I was trying to get to this like kind of glowy thing, and I couldn't figure out how to get to it. But then I'm like, okay, am I meant to? Do I not have the ability to get it yet? And I don't know. It's not very clear to me, and I hate it when games don't tell me whether or not I'm meant to be able to go after something, because I'm like, just tell me. Like prompt, you'd be like, oh, you're not ready for this task. I'd be like, okay, cool. So I'm not gonna waste my time trying to butt my head against something that I'm not meant to be able to do. Right. Anyway, that's my rant.
Abir's review of Fallen Order.
Yeah, the first, because like it starts off pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like with the you're working as some basically like a dock worker. ripping it like you're basically cutting open like old chips and stuff. But then I don't know, like when I got to that planet, I was like, oh, can't be. I was just like,
It's a big like. I liked it generally.
Yeah, because it
but
looks
it
great and people
has
like
a problem
it.
with pacing and like story momentum,
Yeah,
and like because you didn't play through much of it, but it's like in my experience, it's like it feels like half of a game or so, even though a lot of the story bits are like pretty strong, but the way it's paced feels very light and thin
gotcha.
compared to it's odd.
Are there
odd game.
spikes in difficulty? Because I remember hearing that like sometimes like it goes like really like kind of fine, and then just like sometimes it just gets really difficult out of nowhere. But
I
I'm
don't
not
really
sure.
remember.
Okay,
Like I don't.
it's been a
think
while
so,
since you
but
played it, right?
Depends on what you. Yeah, it has been a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't remember there being any particular difficulty spikes. I think it does have a problem with keeping its combat compelling.
Oh,
It's
okay. I was
kind of got one of those things where it doesn't have too much enough
okay.
going on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's also not very long. I don't know. I'd have to play through it again, I think. But I don't know. It's yeah. Anyway, if you didn't love it, and like if you didn't like it too much initially, you probably won't love the rest of it. But
Okay.
it's got stuff to like in it.
Okay.
But
How long is the game?
I don't know, 10 hours or so.
Okay,
It's
so
relatively short.
okay, that's good because then I might actually I might actually play it then. If it's like a
'cause it's
big
like designed
slog,
after the Souls games a bit, but you like because
which I
it's
have no
designed after
reference
one
for.
of the-
That's the thing I can't.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They're like those are like lengthy games that are like minimum 30 hours.
Yeah.
They're like full RPGs where you spend a lot of time with it,
Yeah.
and it's like that. It's based on that, except it's like a short Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's what I was
version of it.
thinking because yeah.
Because like if you have any experience with the Souls games, which might be the main part of it, it's like it feels so short because of it. Like I mean, at least partly. It also just feels like the start of a larger story in a way that hurts it to me.
Okay. And I guess like one part of that is also like it was an unproven concept at the time, like Respawn, the people who made, shooter games going back to Call of Duty and then making Titanfall, like they're making a third person action game, like really unproven. But I guess now hopefully this, maybe the scale of it might be a bit bigger, it'll be a grander game, but I guess it sounds like it's like a Souls light. It's got the parry and the like kind of like animation heavy like kind of systems of combat mixed with kind of the, you rest or you meditate, I guess in this case, and then it kind of resets your health and everything, but the enemies reappear. But it doesn't have the, I guess, weird references and like kind of like deep holes of lore,
Well,
the
I think
Dark Souls games.
I think a lot of it ends up coming down to scale, because
Yeah.
Souls games and because like the other side of it is Metroidvania, because that's probably the thing you were kind of getting tripped on upon. Each level is like you have to get a thing that unlocks aspects of it, parts of it, and then you go, backtrack occasionally to unlock new parts and so on and so forth. So it's kind of combining Metroidvania and Souls stuff in the way it's designed. Levels are designed
Mixed with
structured.
Uncharted, like third person
things
set
are both,
pieces.
like, yeah, exactly. But like those Souls and Metroidvania to me are like quite big things. Like Metroidvanias aren't big; they're relatively short games generally.
Yeah.
But they have a sense of scale typically.
Yeah.
And this one, and like Souls games really do, and that's kind of a big part of their impact.
Yep.
And like when you try to isolate all that into like a more core experience, that's like like a Naughty Dog thing that lasts 10 or so hours.
Yeah.
You have to, so there's only like 5 planets, I think, like 5 levels.
Yeah.
And they're not like short, but like you really, by the time you get to the end, it feels like you only got a section of it, of the overall experience. At least that was my takeaway from it. But I might be more alone in that than I realize.
Well, I guess I'll go back and play it, and I'd love to like maybe compare notes. It'll be interesting to see like kind of how it fits. It looks great and it sounds great. Like I've been playing it on my monitor, which is like kind of like it's one of those monitors where it technically supports HDR, but it doesn't have the brightness to really like kind of blow you out. But it still has like a really good implementation. The sound design is really nice. Like I love the atmosphere, and especially in the opening where there's like a lot of things flying around, and it sounds like a Star Wars game, a Star Wars thing, and it looks like Star Wars. Like it, it's got like kind of like you've got kind of the gritty parts, and then you've got like kind of the really super clean ship interiors, and the sound of blasters and everything. It's kind of cool. But yeah, it's yeah, it was cool so far, but it does the thing where it's like he's like traversing and doing all this stuff, but his voice doesn't really change. Like it's just like
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I feel like I have a couple examples that I can't remember.
Yeah,
Forget what,
I know in the opening,
remember
like he's
now.
like kind of hanging on the side of a freaking train at like 200, like 300 kilometers an hour, but he's just kind of like yelling, like as if he was just like at a bar rather than like
Oh, I
exerting
remember
pressure
now.
and everything. You know what I mean?
Days Gone has a lot of that.
Okay.
It's really like no, it's actually kind of it's probably a separate issue, but it has a thing because like Days Gone is like that bikey game by Sony
Yeah.
from Sony, where you're on a motorcycle a lot of the time, and they
Yeah.
have those parts where there's another person on the motorcycle,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
on yours or another one, and you're talking to them for like 10 minutes
Yeah.
or something, like a GTA game, but like the way they directed the audio is completely different. So the main character is shouting over the sound of the motorcycle.
But the other
The other
person.
person, like they're either behind you or they're like literally on another motorcycle, and they're
Yeah.
not shouting or anything. They're
Yeah.
just talking normally, and it's like it keeps happening throughout it. It's very bizarre.
That's wow. Because
Anyway, on
I
that
think
note-
apparently the Spider-Man games, they actually recorded different lines of dialogue, like the same line of dialogue, different ways depending on whether you're swinging or you're fighting or if you're just standing still, which is kind of cool, like
Okay.
a good way
Yeah,
around it.
yeah, that sounds familiar actually.
Yeah.
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 It's like it's something you have to kind of I don't know. I think it's the fact that was like I wouldn't have cared for like the situation. I don't. It's just because they were like both two versions of it. They were like so completely different from each other.
Yeah.
It was really distracting. Anyway,
Yeah.
in terms of like
Yeah.
in bizarre words or whatever, whatever. Back to game things. Next part is the first gameplay footage of Sonic Frontiers. Next game from Sonic Team and Sega.
Yeah.
This will be Sonic's first open world type game. It's like I think like it's one of those things where a lot of I was personally very curious to see what it looked like in game, just because
Yeah.
it seems hard to pull off, seemingly, especially when Sonic games have such a low bar to clear. Seem like for a lot of people who aren't Sonic fans, they just seem like mediocre,
Yeah.
and that's kind of anyway. It's interesting. Have you seen it?
Yeah. I saw the trailer and I've got it
Okay.
playing in the background here, and it's
Yeah. I'll just describe it quick.
it's interesting.
So, yeah, it doesn't look like I'm kind of curious about it. It made me more curious, which is something. But it's like there's a shift in art style compared to the normal game. So now it's a bit more fantasy oriented, more realistic, natural visuals, like a lot more like natural, like settings.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it. Like
Yeah.
flora.
It looks like the
and it's like
open world section of a Final Fantasy game. And
Yeah,
it
but it also has
definitely
like a faded color palette,
Yeah.
which to kind of make it feel more realistic in
Yeah.
a way that's kind of odd. Personally,
especially for
kinda got-
Sonic.
Yeah, I kind of got Xenoblade vibes, but with, like,
100%
even more
Xenoblade
rounded.
Chronicles. This is
Yeah.
like if you took Sonic out of it and you said, "Oh, this is the new Xenoblade game," I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it looks like what I remember of seeing the trailers
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it." Yeah.
It kind of reminded me. It's like we'll talk about the other week about Kingdom Hearts 4, how like had that like realistic thing. It kind of reminds you of that with Sonic,
Yeah.
where it's just like it just looks odd and strange.
Yeah. I kind
that
of
seems to be-
yeah. Sorry. You go.
Yeah, I think it's like all that. The only things I noticed from it was there seems to be its version of Ubisoft or Breath of the Wild Towers seems to be like a hamster wheel that Sonic like
I love
runs in,
that.
and then it seems to scan
It's-
like the
yeah.
environment. That's what it looked like. I'm not actually sure if that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And then a brief look at gameplay, which seems to be mostly just like a slightly more particles effects heavy version of Sonic gameplay.
Yeah.
Except for one part where the player like runs a circle around an enemy and it like triggers some sort of attack. That kind of reminded me
Yeah.
of like Wonderful 101.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure
yeah.
if that's actually what happened. It looked like it. it was kind of hard to get a sense of exactly what's going on in such
Yeah.
a short teaser.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was curious.
Mm.
I'm kind of hoping it's not just 3D Sonic in a very Breath of the Wild inspired world, because I get the sense that'll probably be a lot of it. But that's not innately bad. I just hope there's some cool ideas in it.
Yeah, like it. Yeah, like I know what you mean about the kind of doing the rings around people, and like it's got. It'll be interesting to see how it works, because I feel like the problem with Sonic games, and this is all the way going to Sonic 1, is that Sonic is great when you're just running fast and you're just kind of speeding through. But anytime you have to actually stop and have precision, Sonic sucks. Like that's
It's funny. It's
yeah.
like I remember that I was like I tried looking into like trying to learn, because like I thought that as well, and I still kind of think that because I haven't like gone
Yeah.
out to play a Sonic game since.
Yeah.
But like Sonic is like its own thing, like especially classic Sonic. It's like
Oh, yeah.
as a platformer, it's just got
It
its own-
sucks. It
no, it's something that like it
Okay.
as someone who's like as people who haven't really played it and engaged with it properly or engaged with it in its own terms, it like
yeah.
marketing wise, it tricks you into thinking it's something else.
Yes.
And my understanding is that as a platformer, it's like not what it presents itself to be, which is you're controlling a roller coaster and it's a little hedgehog, you know?
Yeah.
You always imagine, okay, I'm gonna go fast all the time,
And it isn't.
I'm barely gonna do anything.
Most of the
like,
time, you're not.
Yeah, but in reality, it's more about learning how to create and maintain momentum as you like learn the course, and like sense of momentum and speed is your reward for getting better at it.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it. But I never got that. I was never like taught that by from the outside looking at Sonic games like, oh, that looks kind of fun. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought that, So anyway,
Fair enough. Oh yeah, it makes sense. I guess I never thought of it that way. It's like a reward. I guess I just remember being like I always like the idea of Sonic more than playing it. But that's
I agree. Like I think 3D Sonic has its own issues that it's never fully gotten past, but it has its own fan base that really defend it.
Especially like Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations. I remember that pair of games being really well like regarded back in the day, respectively. So hey,
so it's like, so like I'll respect that. I just don't know enough about Sonic to like fully comprehend why like its best qualities. I'm curious if this will change anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not looking at the Switch version here, but it definitely looks better than Legend of Arceus. Whatever Pokemon Legend was, it Arceus Legends or Arceus Legends, whatever it was.
Legends Arceus.
Yeah, that's the one. It definitely looks better than that. Oh my god!
Good job, Sonic team.
Yeah. Well, and then we've got the final, I guess, announcement teaser thing.
Yeah, a short one. The Life is Strange developer Don't Nod. As part of that, they've kind of made a couple announcements ish as part of their 14th anniversary for the studio. First is that the studio name has changed from Don't Nod, which is like as like a single word, all caps.
Yeah, Don't Nod Entertainment.
Nod,
Yeah,
like as in like the words don't and nod
separately,
which makes it a bit easier to understand, I think, at a glance. Like if you're like trying to talk about it, I think it makes it a bit easier. Even though I never really thought about it much.
Yeah, because like,
and then
sorry, you go.
So, like they also had a teaser, that's kind of like a montage of the logo, but each logo is presented in different art styles, 7 different art styles, which seems to suggest that Don't Nod has 7 games in development currently.
Yeah.
With the last one pointing to their next game called Gerda, A Flame in Winter, releasing in September.
Yeah.
So Don't Nod seemed to have a lot going on. It seemed to be just kind of like a celebration and kind of like a small nod towards like, we're making a bunch of stuff. Like, remember us, please. And then,
I still, like, to me, it still trips me out because, like, I remember hearing about Don't Nod in 2012, 2013 when Remember Me, which was, like, this third-person action game that they made, came out. It was, like, kind of like one of those B-grade, kind of, like, forgettable ones, but I remember that coming out, and then, like, then the people behind Don't Nod are making this, like, kind of supernatural-themed adventure game. and you're like, okay, what is it? Life is Strange with a capital I for in is like, okay, that's gonna be cool. And then that was like, just became this huge hit, and just since then, like, don't know. It's just like, I guess cachet in the public eye has just kind of increased steadily. Like, it would just stayed high. It was like,
Yeah, because now they've kind of like spun off into their own little like MIDI publisher.
yeah,
From what I remember, like I actually can't remember exactly what their last announcement was, but I know they've been like making strides to be more independent rather than publisher reliant like they were with Square Enix and Capcom and probably some other publisher. I don't know, but it's yeah. So big things.
Good on
for
them.
a studio that's so young as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of wraps up most things, I think.
Yeah, and that'll wrap up the news for this past week. How about we move over to the chit chat section of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I guess like just talking about what happened over this past like week in terms of like pop culture. I guess I had watched something called a movie called Candyman, which is like have you seen it, John?
No, I remember it coming out and going, I should watch that.
Yeah,
never really getting around to it.
So essentially, basically, it's a spiritual successor, like a remake of a film from 1992. Of basically it's like a. I guess the premise is that a struggling, or like kind of like. It's like whatever the equivalent of writer's block is for artists, right? He's a painter, a very talented painter who's kind of reached a block, and then he hears about the story of this, I guess this spiritual like kind of like boogeyman called Candyman, who essentially was some like an African American person who had been wronged, and kind of enacts revenge against. I guess in the film it's portrayed as anyone who, is racist or wrongfully, how should I say, like treats like African American people, and like this person kind of like comes back. It's like different people in history have been the Candyman and have hunted and killed these people who've been really bad, and it's like it's a very cool premise, and it's It's very creepy until you see the actual like kind of bad guy. Like when you see like the boogeyman, like the Candyman, and then I feel like it does the thing where it's like it's not scary anymore when you see the monster in a way. Because then, I mean, like the acting and all that stuff's really cool, but I think it's just like the CG itself isn't that good. It just looks very silly. And it's like, there's only so much you can do. Like, I don't know if it would have benefited from showing less, or I don't know. It's just, it was like really, it's like produced by Jordan Peele, who made Get Out and Us. So it's like, it comes from that. I think it was also written by him as well. So it is there was a film in 1992 that was called Candyman, which I think this is like,
like a
spiritual successor, but I'm not familiar with that one to actually tell you, exactly like how much of a close follow up it is. But it's I still enjoyed it. I think it was like really cool and really creepy, especially the way it's kind of like shot and like it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's not scary once you see the bad guy. When you see what's meant to be the villain or whatever.
Yeah, I actually had a very similar comment to make about Stranger Things.
Okay.
Probably won't get too much into that.
We've only watched half of episode 1.
Of the new one?
Of the new one, of Stranger Things 4. But I have I don't know what it was. It was like one of those like articles that pops up at the bottom of another page, and it's like it was talking about how like the villain or like the demon or whatever it is in Stranger Things 4, and it says like, oh, here like this creature was made using a mix of practical effects, CGI, and blah blah blah, and then it's like, but then they showed a photo of that thing, and it's like, why would you do that? Like, put it in your article. Don't put it as the header or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just
Well,
like, that's annoying.
Yeah, that's yeah. But it's like this thing you're saying with Candyman is like also applies to Stranger Things.
Gotcha.
I won't say too much just because it's early days and the show is like gigantic now because it's like 1.5 hours. It's like was it like 75 minutes an episode now?
Oh
So
wow,
I get why people are gonna be moving through it slowly.
gotcha.
Um,
Because like
yeah.
people were talking about there were less episodes in the season, like, but the season's a two-parter. Like it's like two halves of the season, but they're longer episodes
Yeah.
each.
Yeah, it's like every episode of this current batch. Yeah, because I heard about the other like a week or two ago right before it came out, and I was like, it really stuck in my memory. So it's like, it's 9 episodes total. First 7 episodes are out already. Each
Mm.
episode of the set for these 7 episodes is at least an hour and 10 minutes, I think,
Yeah.
if not. And episode 7 is 1.5 hours, and then episode 8 and 9, which come out in like a week and a half or something.
Oh,
Like,
okay. I
it's
thought
not
it was a
very far
longer wait. Okay. All right.
No,
Gotcha.
no. But like 8 and 9 have like 1.5 hours, and then the last, or something like that, and then the last episode is 2.5 hours, which just feels like a bastardization of television format. But it's kind of ridiculous. I have been
Wow.
enjoying it though.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like it's. I just keep forgetting like just how well the directors are, like how well everything kind of just like you just kind of get sucked back into it. You're just like, okay, I'm here again.
Yeah, it kind of like it made me think a lot about how like event series, like event television,
Yeah.
how after Game of Thrones that kind of went away suddenly.
What? Yeah.
Game
What?
of Thrones was
Yeah.
like pretty mediocre for like a few years too, but it still had that impact
Yeah.
where it like felt like everyone was watching it and making sure to watch it.
And
And
making fun of it.
Yeah, but it's like Stranger Things is like it reminded me, it's like, oh, that's right, this doesn't happen much, and it's like the only thing Netflix has that's even close to that, where it
Yeah.
feels like, it's been like 2 or 3 years now since the last season because of COVID. It took a long time, but it's it feels like such a major deal, and like I don't know, there's not much like it, and I kind of forgot that.
Yeah. No,
But,
it's yeah. I think yeah. I'm just excited. Like I really like the Stranger Things like kind of shows. It's like one of my favorite shows, and honestly, it's like one of the few shows on Netflix that like are actually good. Like actually like really good. Like I feel like Netflix has a very spotty record when it comes to like really good TV.
Yeah, I feel like all the discussion about how they've been like scaling back all of a sudden after
Yeah.
they lost subscribers, and how they haven't really locked onto like a really major, like they've had like a bunch of successes that they've tried to
Yeah.
capitalize on, but it's like they keep trying to do Stranger Things again, or at least something close to it, because it's like has like a real impact on their bottom line,
Yeah.
but it doesn't.
Oh,
they
I
haven't
can
got anywhere
imagine.
close,
Yeah, like I mean, Stranger Things has launched the careers of multiple people, so I want to
Yeah,
be.
but it's like-
yeah,
Oh, sorry, but it's like they kind of like tripped onto it, Like they got these two, like the Duffer Brothers or something,
yeah,
who seem to be very consistent in making the show they want and are given all the money they want to make it,
yeah,
because they were like the first to land at Netflix and make a big splash.
yeah,
And then it's like Netflix really want to trip onto another one by accident because they didn't seem to do this one on purpose.
yeah. Well, we'll yeah, who knows? Maybe maybe we'll get like a series from Jordan Peele, and it'll be like a Netflix like like an event thing. Who knows? We'll
Yeah.
find out. But
You
yeah,
had like
yeah.
you had other stuff to watch there.
Yeah, like I've been watching a lot of I've been on a kick lately about like watching documentaries on retro games and stuff. Like it all started with I think a couple of weeks ago I watched The Gaming Historian, did like a
Okay.
feature length documentary on the making of Super Mario World, and it's like kind of like like he's been doing, I guess, a series of these. Like he's talked about, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario Brothers 2, and like the Game Boy and stuff like that. But this was like really well made, and it's kind of cool. And what he does is like, instead of like reading out translations and I guess like newspaper clippings and stuff from the time, he actually gets like other kind of like YouTubers and other people who kind of like affiliated with the retro gaming to kind of like be the voices of the people involved throughout the history, and it's just like really well produced, and it provides a lot of context about what it was like, in Japan versus the US, when the game came out, and what it meant for people, and what people were actually thinking about the Super Nintendo. It's kind of like a story of the Super Nintendo as well, because the Super Mario World was marketed as kind of the I guess they used to call these things killer apps. It's the thing you had to have that sells your system. I mean, in fact, it was packed in the US, and I think even here in Australia, like PAL regions. So it was cool, like really learning about that, and like it's fascinating. I would really encourage you to watch it. I'll put in the show notes. I'll put it in the link as a link below, so everyone can watch it at home as well.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and I guess I've also been watching, like, kind of going back through Digital Foundry's retro series, like DF Retro, and trying to like they did some retrospectives on like Gran Turismo on the PS1 and versus other racing games of the time, and then Gran Turismo on the PS2 generation and other racing games of the time, and then I was like they'd also did like a DF Retro episode on MotorStorm series, and kind of like talking about how they were, and the story, the history behind it, and then like I completely forgot that the people who made MotorStorm made Drive Club.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh yeah, that totally happened, and yeah, and like how ahead of its time it was, and some of the techniques it had, and then it's fascinating. Like I would encourage everyone to go back and watch. And especially if you're interested in retro gaming at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... I need to go out and like learn more about like gaming history more than I do. Like it's something I've like left to,
Hey.
I just don't know. I just don't know enough about, it's like, yeah, because I mentioned earlier about how like I did those like launch game articles like a while back. And that was like my first time learning a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I find it easy to underestimate just how ignorant I am of that kind of area.
Yeah. But last week you teased that you were playing a lot of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
Yeah. Do you have much experience with Dragon Ball?
Oh well, I mean, grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, and then I've got the Dragon Ball Kai collection, which I think I'm up to the Cell Saga on that. Like I got it like years ago, and I just haven't picked it up since. But I'm definitely gonna go back and watch it. But yeah, like essentially, this follows like kind of the first few arcs of the Dragon Ball Z show, right?
Well, it technically follows all of it.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, it's like it follows from Saiyan Saga to the Buu Saga.
Okay, right, yeah.
It doesn't like yeah, because like I'm a very big fan of Dragon Ball Z. It's something I always like is easily like the most formative thing for me. Like,
yeah,
as,
I think exactly. Yeah, I think we're all about the same age.
In Australia, it was always on in the
in the morning. Yeah, dude,
but,
Cheese TV.
Yeah, and it's like it's a big deal for me personally.
Yeah,
as like a series, like there's almost nothing else that comes close.
Yeah,
like everything else either, I don't know, has waned as I got older. Dragon Ball Z is actually one of the things that's like rock solid. It's like that doesn't mean I'm a fan of everything in it, like because the Super series from a few years ago.
Come on, Goku.
I'm very spotty on it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, like it's yeah. I think it's like for so many people, and it's like Dragon Ball Z is such a huge like cultural touchstone that I just it's so yeah. So tell me, like what type of game is this? Because it's not a fighting. It's not like the fighting games that are really well received. It looks like as far as I understood, it was just kind of like a third person action game. in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. Probably.
Okay.
It's like it's the Naruto. The guys that made the Naruto games, like Cyber Connect 2, they did one of those for
Okay.
Dragon Ball,
Yep.
and that's kind of most of it. There isn't much to it. Like I knew going, like, because I've been meaning to play it for a while. I got it. I was able to get it on sale with the DLC for like $30 recently,
Okay.
which was like enough of a low enough bar to go, okay, like this game's meant to be pretty mediocre, but I want to play it just because I'm a big fan of the series. I want to see how it goes. Anyway, I was actually like, I'm still, even though I've invested like 60 hours or something dumb over the last few weeks into it, because it's a very good podcast game. You can spend a lot of time just doing nothing, and, in that game, and just like grinding away to get a little stronger. But it's yeah, like overall, it's pretty disappointing as a Dragon Ball fan, because one of the things that I really wanted it to do was try to make it. Well, it's like the main problem is that it has like no ideas of its own. It's like
It's
it
just a
feels
retelling,
very-
right? In a
Yeah,
way,
it's like
yeah.
and it's really like not anything more than that. It's
Okay.
very bare bones in terms of like mechanically, or just even trying to like tell the story in a kind of more interesting way. Like, because like part of it I was thinking would be trying to integrate like filler episodes, stuff that isn't in the manga properly but is in the anime, the original anime series, or having the movies integrated in an interesting way into this big campaign. And it's like, because I remember the old games on PS2 and stuff doing
Yeah.
that, like Budokai Tenkaichi series. Like those games did stuff like that, where you'd have side missions where you go fight Broly or Cooler,
Yeah.
or what, kind of villains from the movies that are completely disassociated from the main
Yep. Yeah.
canon story. And it's like
Okay.
it doesn't do much like that at all, which is really, I don't know. A lot of it is like, as a fan service game, I didn't find it particularly good as someone who's a big fan of the series to begin with.
Yeah.
I think if you're a casual fan, you'll probably get a bit more out of it than I did.
Yeah.
And it's just because like one thing, because I'm finishing it up now because I'm
Okay.
onto the last DLC,
Oh
which
yeah.
is about Trunks, like the kind of the dark timeline.
Like the timeline he originally comes from, where like shit's fucked, where Goku dies of
Yeah.
that heart disease, and
Yeah, exactly.
and
It's like
like
him as a
Frieza
kid.
wins, or like Cell wins, or something, right? Like, wasn't it? Only the
Yeah, it's
androids
like
take
the
over.
androids arrive,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kill
yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, I'm playing through that now, and that already has like a bunch of ideas that would have done wonders for the main game. So stuff like having, man, if you don't know Dragon Ball, none of it is gonna make sense. But it's like in the Trunks expansion, there's the part where like you're Gohan and you can't do any, like you fought against the androids, and then you kind of get knocked back to like the final battle for Gohan, where like you're literally powerless and you're just kind of waiting for them to kill you.
Yeah.
like you like for
Like
you
you're
to-
completely depleted and everything.
Yeah, and there's like a bunch of stuff in the main series that could have used something like that. Like, and there's a few things like that in the Trunks DLC. It's like, oh, this is where you got ideas, because like the main game is like very one note, and like even when there's a fight where where you're using one character to fight like the boss or something,
Yeah.
it's the objective is always, absolutely always, beat them, like get their health to 0, and
Yeah.
then you
Cutscene.
get and like yeah, exactly. And but it's like the ending is always like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like the next cutscene could be, oh, you weren't strong enough to beat him, even though it's like, I just got him to 0 health. What are you talking about?
To be fair, that's what the show was.
It wasn't though. It's like
I mean,
you
yeah.
don't, like mechanically, you
Yeah,
don't get
yeah,
a
yeah.
sense of like powerlessness.
Yeah.
And it's like even those times where you're meant to be really powerless, I had like the easiest time.
Yeah.
Like like the difficulty is like completely off kilter.
Yeah,
so
because
often.
that was always the thing where it's like, it was like always dire, and then somehow an extra power or go like, something comes in, some Deus Ex Machina comes in, and it's just like, whether it's the tears of your friends, the sacrifices they made, or like another character returning, or more than once it's Goku returning from death somehow. Like, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not. I don't know. I'm a like as I've engaged with this main like the full story of Dragon Ball so many times that I have like I'm like kind of defensive of aspects of
Dude,
it.
it's
But
yeah.
I really don't think it's like as bad as people tend to say it is in
Well,
certain
I
respects.
rewatched
But
it like because rewatching it as Dragon Ball Kai, a lot of the
Yeah.
filler stuff's taken out. Like it's more closely, like it's closer to the anime, right? So to the manga rather than the original anime, which is like, really padded out, right?
mm,
So for me, it was just kind of like exhaustive. It was just exhausting going from one arc to another. Like it just kind of goes straight into the next arc. Whereas with the
yeah, the manga's really fast because I read it a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how fast.
and then and Dragon Ball Kai kind of does that. It's like gets it. That I think that's why I stopped. It was just like, okay, I finished this saga and bang, it's straight into the next saga. It went like it was the Saiyan saga, and then it went to the Frieza saga with like Gohan
Yeah.
training and everything. Well, it was all that Gohan training, and then the Frieza saga, and then now I'm in the Android saga, and it was like really quick. So, but I am enjoying like it is still cool, and like the fights and everything still look cool. Like I think you kind of realize like how much of pop culture is influenced by it. There's a lot in there.
no, that's what I was getting
yeah.
a sense of
And-
playing it as well.
And like one thing I always like there were Dragon Ball Z games in the 90s because Dragon Ball Z has been around since like Dragon Ball's been around since like the 70s or early 80s, and Dragon Ball Z technically is around since the late 80s. Like everything came to us really late.
Wait, Dragon Ball's not that old, is it?
Dude,
I think it's
yes.
from the 70s.
Oh, I don't know, man. I feel like the original Dragon Ball's
I think
like
it was like
90
mid 80s onwards, I think.
I feel like the Dragon Ball Z came from the
84. Okay.
is Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Z I think is like 89 maybe or something.
So Dragon Ball went from 84 to 95, and that includes Z as well.
Okay, so it's technically a continuation. So
Yeah.
when did Dragon Ball Z start? Oh, I'm curious.
Yeah. It's around halfway, so I guess
Ah,
early 90s.
Dragon Ball Z started in 1989.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Anyway.
much older than you think.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, it's like I remember learning. It's like wait, like like when I was like watching the movies as a kid and like learning about them. I was like, wait, these movies are from like the early 90s. Like, why am I only watching them now?
Yeah,
And it's like,
but that's just when
and,
we got them.
They only got English dubs later as well.
Yeah,
I think. Pretty sure that's right.
because like
But it's,
I think there was like the Funimation dubs, and then there was like the 4Kids. No, 4Kids was Pokemon. Because I remember there was like an original dub, and then they became popular. Then like Funimation, I think, went back, and that's probably the one that we all know. Because I can't watch the Japanese version. The voice actor for Goku just it's like the same lady who's voiced him since like the original cartoons in the 80s. Is like she's like
Yeah.
a lady like screaming, like that's it. Just in my head
Yeah,
never
going out to
matched
watch-
Goku.
Yeah, because I remember like I watched Dragon Ball Super as it happened, and I
Yeah.
never really got like I don't know. I have like way too much nostalgia and affection for the original English dub, like including like the original. Like I don't like the modern voices much, like the ones who had to be replaced over time. Because like Bulma has a new voice because I think her voice actor passed away as well.
Yeah, can
So
imagine.
sad story. But it's like it's like I still like can't let go
Yeah,
of the old voices. Like same with
Yeah.
Frieza. It's like I really enjoy Frieza's original voice, and the new voice actor is great. But I
wait,
like the old one.
in Dragon Ball Z Kai or in Dragon Ball Super?
Kai probably has the new one.
Oh, okay. Oh wow, damn.
Oh,
Wow.
Anyway, just to kind of like wrap up. My
Okay,
point,
quick. Can I
like-
ask you?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you wrap up, I have a question for you.
Okay, I was just gonna say it's like Kakarot is like. I wanted something more like fleshed out as like a full campaign because it's already really long. So I get why they made it the way they did, and it felt like they didn't have much time to do much more anyway. So it's like 40 hours baseline, I think, to get through the whole thing. So I get why they didn't add more to it. But I wanted like all the little bits, because you mentioned the Frieza saga. And it's like a big part of that was like Goku being on a spaceship training by himself for like a week or something in like the gravity chamber. And it's like I wanted that, and you don't get it. And it's like you so rarely get those little moments,
Yeah,
and it bums me out so much.
yeah, because like in the in like the original show, there's an entire like kind of side plot of like Goku traveling around the galaxy, going to like this planet of like these people who teach him how to do the instant transmission, and then that's why he
Was there an
comes.
arc?
I think, and that's how he knows how to. That's why he rocks up to the freezer fight in Funny Clothes. Is that the one, or is that
that was the
Android?
other
Is that
one, yeah.
Android?
That was after he comes back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like, or is the one? Oh no, that's remember the quest on the Snake Way. Like there was just
Yeah, that
episode.
one's very
That's the
long.
one that's in between.
That
that's
was the one I've like actively skipped.
That's the
Because
one
was,
during the
like,
Freezer saga. That's like everyone's like,
no,
because
that was during Saiyan.
because Saiyan finished. No, because remember
Like,
he
no,
died at
'cause
the end of
Goku
the
gets
Saiyan.
killed. No, Goku gets killed when he's God. We're nerds. Well,
Yeah.
where,
He
like,
got killed
Goku
because
gets
Piccolo.
yeah, like to kill Raditz, his brother.
Yeah.
Then he dies. Then he has to be on the Snake Way for 6 months or whatever, and that's like a whole bunch of filler in the anime.
Yeah,
And he comes back to
yeah.
life to fight Vegeta and stuff.
Okay, so he does fight Vegeta. Oh yes, because like because like Gohan gets like knocked out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, more or less.
Yeah, and then okay, he does come back to fight Vegeta and stuff, right? Is that okay? I'm just trying to think, because like, I'm like trying to like obviously I watched Dragon Ball Z like 20 years ago, right, when it was on TV, and then I watched Dragon Ball Z Kai like maybe 8 years ago whenever that came out. So I'm just trying to like I'm just trying to think. Because, like,
Yeah.
remember, like, there was Yajirobe, like, the ninja, like, the useless ninja, the useless samurai
Yeah.
guy, in, like, the car, like, the floating car. Like, there's just all these really silly things. And, like, I forgot how horny, how pervy, like, it is. Like, it's such a weird...
Yeah, Master Roshi sucks.
yeah.
And it's like it's got a lot of like sexist aspects to it as well.
Yeah, it's, like,
which,
very...
like,
yeah.
The older I get, the more I kind of become aware of it. And it's like I don't feel terrible for it. Like it's just
It's of its
something to
time, but
be-
still.
Yeah, it's like anyway.
I mean,
It's,
to be fair, like, when we watched it, we were probably, like, impressionable young boys. So it was probably different for us. Like, we probably didn't...
Well, I don't think I liked Roshi then either.
Oh, no.
But, like,
I mean, like, the depictions of Bulma and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because something that's like, I should stop talking about this soon. But like one thing that like stood out to me in this case is like
Yeah.
one, I'm still angry about what they do to Videl, like what Toriyama does to Videl, like which is Gohan's wife at the
Yeah.
end, and it's like they have like a cool thing where like Gohan's teaching her how
Yeah.
to use, magical power, and she's
Yes,
got like,
yes.
and then her personality just goes away. Like she stops being like stubborn
And then
strong-willed. Then she just becomes wife.
Yeah. Dude,
Even looks
yes.
different.
Yeah, so she
And it's
just
like-
became like Chi-Chi.
No, she becomes less than Chi-Chi because at least Chi-Chi
Chi-Chi had attitude.
strong-willed and
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And 18's like at least neat, like because she never really loses her personality, even though she loses significance to the story.
Like
most of the
18.
time. Yeah, like the android.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
marries
like Krillin. And then remember he
Yeah.
gets his hair back because he's not fighting, and then
Yeah.
and then what is it? Yeah, because like I'm trying to remember. Yeah, because Videl was like Hercule's daughter, right? Who she was like a badass, like the same kind of like college or whatever as Gohan, and then I'm trying to remember. Like I just remember the end. Then she just wearing like
Well, like-
traditional Japanese like kind of what you pictured of like a housewife clothes.
Yeah,
type stuff.
exactly. It's like that still makes me pretty angry because
Oh.
because Super, the follow up from like 5 years ago or something,
Yeah.
it's like she's exactly that. It's like
But then her
she's-
daughter is the strong one now, right? Is that like Goku's granddaughter?
in GT. That's kind of what
okay,
happens,
yeah.
That's-
Okay.
Yeah, we're going over a lot. But the other point I
yeah.
wanted to make about that was like in Kakarot, there's
Mm.
this thing called community groups or something. I don't know. They're kind of this weird thing where you get like badges of individual characters,
Okay.
and then you slot them into like different stats basically of like the game. So one's like Z Warrior that's related to combat, and there's one for cooking that's like because you can like make food and like meals that
Yeah.
get you bonuses, and then so on and so forth. Anyway, almost all the women are like directly benefit the cooking one. Really annoys, like that was shitty to
Yeah.
feel. It's like, why does every like female character have to directly boost cooking?
Yeah, because like even like
I get
Bulma
why.
was like
Show, but
like Bulma was meant to be like a genius, like her dad. Like her dad was like a famous scientist inventor, and
She's the only one who doesn't actually. Everyone else does though.
okay, because like, and then her mum was like just kind of like a typical, she was like airhead, kind of like clueless kind of depiction of like. I don't know if you remember, but like she was like the one with like kind of like the bangs, the blonde lady with the bangs,
Yeah.
and her dad was like kind of the scientist in the coat, or who loved speakers, and then Bulma was just kind of like, I think it's like when Dragon Ball Z starts, like it's been a few years since she saw Goku, and the last time she remembers he was like this bratty kid, and now he's like this hot, like kind of strong guy, and then she's like, oh, you're married. And then like she like throughout the Frieza saga is just kind of like just annoying. Like she's just depicted as just being an annoying, spoiled kind of like bratty Bulma, yeah. And then like that like was like what stood out to me with like watching Dragon Ball Z Kai, and you're like, God, you suck. Like why do they make you like this?
Yeah, she's a frustrating
Yeah,
character.
I have a question.
In that
yeah.
arc specifically, yeah.
Well, I have a question. Okay, I was always interested. So, like, Dragon Ball GT, is it canon?
No.
Okay, because it was
It
created.
was like a spin-off created by Toei or whoever kind of
Who held the
owns
rights?
Dragon Ball license.
Not based
Like,
on
I don't
any
think
anime.
Tori- No. Super is technically canon.
Because he came back for that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen
Alright.
GT in like since I was a kid. Everyone says it's awful. I bet it's okay.
I just remember that with the one where everyone had mullets and monkey tails. That's what I remember. That's all I
Yeah,
remember
that-
from, and
okay.
like shoulder pads.
Yeah.
That's what I remember
That's
from that.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
is
that's enough
Gogeta
Kakarot
from that?
talk.
Is it Gogeta or is it Vegito? You know when they combine?
Gogeta's from that, but he's also
Okay.
from other stuff.
Oh, okay, cool,
He's-
cool. Well, I guess I've got to dust
But,
off
like,
my
it's funny, this
copies.
conversation's kind of reminding me. I was like, man, I know the hell out of Dragon Ball.
Well, I guess I've got to dust off my like Blu-rays of Dragon Ball Z Kai and continue where I left off, because I stopped watching at the beginning of the Android saga, like not the beginning, like you know when I think is it Android 16, the one with like the little tuft of hair, like you know the kind of the big
Oh,
Arnold Schwarzenegger
the
guy.
Orange.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah.
been defeated, and I think now like 17 and 18 are kind of like they unfold their
Oh, you're
arms.
pretty far along then.
Yeah, like you know they do the thing where they unfold their arms and crack their necks, even though they are technically androids, so they wouldn't need to. But anyway.
Actually, they're technically cyborgs in an annoying way.
Oh
Eight-
yes, because they're humanoid. They are
Yes,
part human,
yeah,
right?
17 and 18 are both like humans turned into androids.
Whereas 16 was an
16 is
an
actual
android.
though.
Yes, yes.
It's like it never comes up in the main story very much.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Anyway, yeah. That's wow.
That
That's
was too much.
no. I mean, I loved it, but yeah, I don't know about everyone at home.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I think let's get towards the let's start wrapping up the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about the Bob's Burgers movie, but maybe we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, as always, Doublejump Radio is made possible thanks to the support of our wonderful members and Patreon supporters. Everyone at home, you too can support Doublejump by heading to doublejump.co/memberships and signing up today. John, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. You know, doing this with you every week. It's I think yeah.
Always fun.
Nah,
I've been saying it a lot lately.
Yeah. always something to look forward to there. But yeah, no, it's going to be great. We've got some more articles lined up this week. And yeah, maybe more from Lucas over the coming week as well. So I'm going to watch Top Gun Maverick. I'll see if I can review it. I can't guarantee anything, but I will try to. I'll try to write something up for it. But yeah, thank you so much, John. Always a pleasure. And
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
until next time, everyone, look out for one another. Peace.
See ya.
Bye, everyone.